Hello everybody and welcome into the start of our Wayne State preview series. We are going to start off with the head ball coach himself, Tyrone Wheatley, talk a little bit about the changes that have happened in the program, what we're looking at going forward, the schedule at large. So Coach, first of all, thank you for coming in and joining us. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Happy to be here.
So, you made some, I would call them pretty drastic changes. You change both coordinators in the same offseason. You bring a couple new position coaches in. Let's go through that process of making those changes first with both coordinators.
Well, I mean, as you go back and you evaluate, it's at the end of the day, you have to figure out, where you went wrong and then how to match what's going on in the conference. And just looking at some things, and nothing against either coordinator. It was just time to upgrade and move a little forward. And sometimes ideas and instances just doesn't match up. So I wanted to go with Coach Antoine Robinson, who does a great job with our DBs, but he's also a brilliant football mind, a young, brilliant football mind, who was our special teams coordinator. And so just seeing the way he adapted to the conference and my teachings and the things that I wanted and how I wanted them done really fit well as to where we wanted to go in the direction. So he moves into the role of a defensive coordinator.
And the one thing that I noticed with him, and not that this is the be-all, end-all metric, but one thing that stood out in today's day and age where there's so much turnover, had a lot of returning guys in the DB room. That tells me those guys enjoyed being coached by him and like that. So for that one, you stay in-house. For offense, you get Coach J.C. McDonald. You go outside of the program for that. I guess what were the differences between the one you kept it inside and the one you went with an outside hire?
Well, kind of the same thing when you said about Antoine. Not only was there a lot of retention, right, but in terms of recruiting, who he recruited and how he recruited. And that's another portion of it is, a lot of times you just can't recruit guys just to be recruiting. You have to recruit basically to win the conference. And, and Coach Antoine did that. He recruited the guys that helped us win games in the conference, and that's why he stayed in-house. To go outside, I've known Coach McDonald for a while, and really was the guy I wanted to bring in the first time, but he was, as always, had a previous job and couldn't get him the first time, but second time around, he was available and was able to bring him in. So
let's start with some of the other positional coaches that you made a change with. Defensively on the line, Coach DeJuan Garland comes in. He was a GA here a handful of years ago. He's coached at the college level. He's been a head coach in high school over the last half decade or so. Tell me about the decision to bring him in.
Well, once again, like you talked about, he's a local guy, understands the recruiting landscape, and that's what it is, the recruiting landscape, being able to bring the guys in that's going to help win this conference and compete heavy in this conference. And not only that, system, right? He understands the system and is going to make sure that these guys play within the system and do the things they need to do. And then last but not least, but development, right? You're going to bring in some guys, as you and I both know, they're not going to come in, they're not going to leave the way they come in, and they shouldn't, right? So development is the next portion of this thing is being able to develop guys, and he has that in his resume.
All right, let's go from the D-line to the linebackers. Ed Salon, now the guy running the ship in the linebacker room. He's had experience basically at every level of football. Tell me a little bit about Coach Salah.
Man, let me tell you, so football name, right? His cousin, head coach New York Jets, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, it just runs in his blood. But the one thing about Solid, it's an absolute love for this guy, right? It's always hard you always say no one loves football more than yourself or whatever. I think I found my match.
Well, I was saying, when we sit down with him and I got to talk to him, I think I asked, my questions were like, all right, so football. And then he just would go, and I'm like, this made my job easy.
I think I found my match, right? But no, within that is, and when you're talking about attention to detail, and when we talk about the developmental aspect of a guy, he has a plan. Every recruit he looks at, every person he wants to bring in, he has a plan for that person. And then just going from X's and O's to just physicality, and even just in the class, everything that has to do off the field, he has a developmental plan for each kid in every space in this field. I don't think there's no bandwidth large enough that this guy can't cover in football. So, I think I hit a home run with this one.
All right, so offense, you bring a former Tartar home to make him the coach of the Warriors, Jimmy Hill. He's going to be the one guiding the wide receivers. Talk to me about bringing him in, because he was a guy you had to coach against the last couple of years at Davenport. Now you have him home in Detroit.
Well, just understanding Jimmy, right? So when I used to recruit Detroit Central when he was there, then kind of crossed paths a little bit, had the chance to see his work when I was in Jacksonville. He was down in Jacksonville. Then once again, his group, like you said, Davenport was doing a hell of a job. But once again, he's a conference guy. And I'm always go back to, got to understand the conference, you got to beat the conference, right? Before you talk national championship, you got to get through this incredible gauntlet of the GLIAC. And he understands it and he knows it, right? So, and then trying to build this team for the future, he understands. And like you say, he's a Wayne State alum. Who knows Wayne State better than you guys, right? So at the end of the day, it was a smart choice to bring him on.
Well, you keep talking about the gauntlet of a conference and the schedule. Let's talk about it. You start off with a couple of teams from Ohio that have been pretty good in Tiffin and Findlay. Tell me about those two teams and what guys and fans can expect in the first couple of weeks of the season.
Don't sell them short. You said pretty good. They're good. They're really good. But no, so, both teams are very disciplined. Right, very disciplined. Tiffin, first-year head coach last year, he did a heck of a job. I don't want to say inherited, but he took a team and developed it and made it his own. And like everybody else, they're going through transition. They're bringing in transfers, but he does a heck of a job of getting his group ready. So last year was a pretty physical game that we played. We made more mistakes than they did. So hopefully this year we'll cut those mistakes down. And it'll be just a true battle between those two teams that's going to play hard. And
then Findlay, that's going to be your first road game of the season. Tell me something about the Oilers, because it was last year's a game where started off bad, you tried to get your footing, you just dug yourself in too big a hole.
Oh yeah, once again that Findlay team, I tell you, man, their quarterback, he can throw the ball.
He can sling it.
He can throw the ball, and he's very precise. And that whole coaching staff does an incredible job in what they do. Like, once again, a very disciplined team, physical. But the most thing I'm most impressed with that team is poise, right? They didn't falter under pressure. It's almost like they have been there, but they didn't falter under pressure. Even though we mounted our comeback and we were coming, but they just stayed poised, man, and they did what they had to do. So I'm looking forward to see this team again.
New face on the schedule. You go out to Wisconsin lacrosse. And yes, they are a D3 team, but you know and I know that, especially in the state of Wisconsin, those D3 schools, that UW system, lacrosse, and all those other ones in there, if you're not going to Madison, you're going to one of those.
Yes.
So while they're D3 in name, as Wayne State found out a handful of years ago, they play like a D2 school.
Also Grand Valley.
Yes, Grand Valley had their hands full with them in Lubbers.
Yes. So we do take the road trip, and now when you talk about physicality, and you talked about Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin, that's what they're branded on, right? Physicality, Big Ten football, but another good team, good disciplined team. But don't take the D3 lightly.
Right.
They're not a D3.
And that's going to be a long road trip for you guys, too, because it's basically the other side of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Might as well be Minnesota.
Team bonding.
It's a good way to put it, Coach.
Yes.
Final non-conference game, Quincy comes in. Again, a team that Wayne State hasn't played a ton. What do you know about Quincy?
Well, once again, a lot of people new roster, right? Roster's turning over, some new guys. So we're watching film, trying to figure out who's coming in, who's not. These coaches all do a pretty good job of kind of keeping their roster kind of secure and tight until the very, very last moment of knowing who's going to be there. But they bring back pretty much the entire staff. I want to say Kurt Warner's son is the coordinator there, so it'll be great to see him and go against him and what he's going to call and how he's going to call the game. But it's going to be a good game.
And let's go into the GLIAC. We won't go the way the schedule does, because you got to start at the top. You talk about how tough this league is. 3 out of the last 4 years, Fair State's been a national champion. Basically, their last hurdle in those 3 years was Grand Valley. Those are the two top dogs, no pun intended, but what do you guys have to do to be able to punch with them and have a shot to overtake them? Because Ferris, it was one of the weirdest games I've ever been a part of, but you were in that game till the end. Grand Valley, you didn't have as much luck, but tell me about those two teams and what you have to do?
Well, the biggest thing is really for us to stay in any football game, but especially with those two, mistakes. We have to limit the mistakes, the MEs, the mental errors. We have to limit those, and that's where a lot of the changes in coaches came in, is because, as you and I both know, the plays that you call may not always be the best play, but when you go back and you watch the film, it's always one, two, maybe three guys that didn't quite do what they were supposed to do. While everybody's in the stand and say, "Oh yeah, the play is so predictable, we know what it is." But if you block it right and you do what do what you're supposed to do, it turns out to be an incredible play. So we had plays that stalled drives in Grand Valley that could have, a third down play that could have extended us to a first down, but we missed the block here where we didn't get a block there. Those type of deals. And then same thing in Ferris, right? We come out that second day and the first moment they come out, they hit us right down the pipe and we knew what was coming. But, guy got greedy and eyes, looked the wrong way and there it goes. But you can't make mistakes against those two teams. You cannot. You can't do it.
So I would say, for lack of a better term, the next tier of teams are the two that have been knocking on those two teams' doors, Saginaw Valley and Davenport. It seems like both those programs the last few years have had really nice seasons, but they can't get over the Grand Valley and Ferris State humps. They've given Wayne State some issues the last couple of years. Tell me about Saginaw Valley and Davenport.
Biggest thing for those two is kind of the same thing. Like, don't want to sell those two teams short either. You can't make mistakes against those guys either. Like you say, we've been in some of those games a little close, but the mistakes hurt us there. But then at the same time, where they get us is our depth, which we're basically improving right now, is the attrition. Just staying in the game, making sure that we can stay in the game with these guys. And, they have a first, a second, and a third wave of guys where sometimes we only hit just maybe one or two. But this year, we're addressing that and just basically being able to stay in there and not make the mistakes. And what I tell our guys, give us a chance to play the football game, meaning don't go out there and make mistakes and don't hand them the game. Make them beat us.
One team that I think takes advantage of mistakes more than any other program now and historically is Michigan Tech. The one word that always comes up with the Huskies is discipline, and if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's what happened up in Houghton last year. Tell me about Tech.
Well, you just said it. And not only they're a very poised team, right? So of course, you talk about discipline, poise is the next thing. I really like what Coach is doing up there. I mean, when you look at the sideline, they're always cheering, they're always engaged, they're always in it, and the players are always coaching. And so it's not just the coaching staff, it's the entire group. It's the entire group of guys that I've noticed more so than any other team is, that team is walking and once the defense is walking off the field, they're patting the offense on the head. Offense comes off, they're patting the defense, special teams. That whole group is involved. And they know when you talk about a team effort, they know it's truly a team effort. And so like you say, once a mistake happens, man, they're on it and they're going after it. It's like a freaking pack of piranhas, right? But the biggest thing for us is, like I say, the biggest things for this is limit the mistakes.
There are two teams that are going to have revenge on their mind at the end of the schedule, Northern Michigan and Roosevelt. Two teams you were able to get wins against last year. But you're going to have to take some long road trips. I mean, Chicago's not next door. It's not the worst one, but it's still a little bit of a ways. And Marquette and the Superior Dome, not an easy place to go and play, no matter what Northern Michigan's packing. So tell me about those two teams that you had some success against last year, how to duplicate that this year.
Well, once again, it's just hopefully, when I say hopefully, we're healthy at that stage. Last year, going into those games, we limped in with Band-Aids and duct tape. So hopefully this year we're going in healthy. That's one. And two, like you say, man, these teams are looking for revenge. They're hungry. They want to get after us. And hopefully, it's just not us that look for revenge,
right?
As everybody else. But it just goes back to it. Mistake-free football. Don't give them stuff to capitalize on. We go in and we play our game and make sure we're pushing and moving forward, lessen mental errors, play our brand of football, and walk out victorious. All
right, Coach, final question. What are the 2025 Wayne State Warriors going to be known for?
Hey, man, I'm going to keep knocking on this door. Physicality and mistake-free football.
All right, Coach, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and excited for week one. Tiffin's not that far away.
No, it's not.
So that will do it with Coach Wheatley for the season preview. Thank you so much for watching. Join us next time as we start to break down all the positions here on the Wayne State Football Positional Preview Series.